we are going, but we know we will get there. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will get there. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will get there. Boom boom, ti boom, boom boom, boom boom, ti boom, boom boom. We will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will get there. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will get there. Boom boom, ti boom, boom boom, boom boom, ti boom, boom boom. It will be hard, we know, that the road will be muddy and rough, but we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will get there. Boom boom, ti boom, boom boom, boom boom, ti boom, boom boom. It will be hard, we know, that the road will be muddy and rough, but we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will.
You will get there. I shall for you so much a chair, and then you shop pass a fly and a bar out no be any aji. Because this is the moment that we have been waiting for. I'm say for some time, Nina, there be a muddy boy so you hear topic here be to me a casafa mental health home. And then Yamiadum, and only a day break I shall for near tea for. Mavity,
Yes, Nanayere.
and you say for fear, chair all money and she may say.
Yo, Edda, Munina say, Muni wa ye ni ho. Enti frɛ wo nua bi na ɔno so mfrɛ obi na mo nhyɛ na obi a metie bi abrɔkyerɛ mu nsɛm ɛnɛ deɛ yɛatwɛn abra obi pɛ ano yie no ɛno nɛnɛ aduru so nti obi a mfrɛ obi ne yɛn nyinaa yɛmetie deɛ kyɛn so adɔma na ɛda hɔ no sɛ wo subscribe ya subscribe na bɛka abusua kɛseɛ no na da abrɔkyerɛ mu nsɛm memre da nwummerɛ bia yɛba ya ne yɛni mu nyinaa yɛdi dwuma no Nanayere enwummerɛ nye easy
Easy.
Woni ma de kodie ntia
We try so over time because ahwefo nyina ho siase anim a esresre.
ai
We ate ho kakra kyerɛ wo mo. Ne ka de ebetoa so.
ai ene gye mienu ene wo abrɔkyerɛ mu nsɛm ha baako ye mental health na yenya ye sister na oni ye be share no ene de kyɛn so ye see you ye ne big day enti no ene ye ni agye enya asɛm ketewa wo fie ha enti no ye da obi ase fro obi no obi fro obi na mo nkoso anhye na abrɔkyerɛ mu nsɛm ye wa ha sɛ ye be ma ya abrɔkyerɛ mu ha emu adwo ne nyina ye nya asomdwie e de atena kro mu ha Nanayere no esi
pepe ni nyina na maame ti aka no enwumre nso yesa de adwumadie no ebrewo ewo Richmond media so senya da bia ye ka no adwumaku a waso ya se ama ye de dwumadie yi brewo top connect da bia me ka kyerew se omu de wudu sika fa ho ayi levi bia enna so na won rate ni nso ewo soro enu ti sika no senya opese abusuafo nsaka no sa pepe no mu nsa beka na dwumadie a wo so omu di kodi ni nso no omu di ebekwa akodi ama wo ho ato enche bia na Christmas ebe yi se bia wo ye ntutu ye wo fie ti bomode ne fa osika ne fa top connect no di bedi dwumadie na ma Mr. Kan ye ho en ni enkotie enwuma ada ye tie no ye ba ya ye be introduce ye guest no wo fi ha say ye be introduce no ni a hye dwumadie na se enti ka me ho ni enkotie enwumra
Media,
Tina Shena Brininamu.
Ehona ubenya radio ni TV money penina.
Rich more media. Tina Shena da.
Ehona ubenya radio ni TV money penina. Rich more.
Search Richmond Radio. Ewo. Facebook.
Rich more.
Modern Ghana. Ghana Web.
Rich more.
YouTube and so. Richmond Media TV.
Ehona ubenya radio ni TV money penina. Rich more.
Kanya misandani dabinem. Kosona ti Richmond. Bono bao kanya misandani dabinem. Kosona ti Richmond.
Ehona ubenya radio ni TV money penina. Rich more. Ye mamu nyina kwaba. Samuka ye ho na ye kotie enwom eba ye. Samre ye dwumadie no na ye de eba abehihye so no. Mesre se wonhye ya abomodin ase wo behye dwumadie yi. Ama wonua bi aba abehwe bie. Esanse ya ade aye nyina ye nida so na nyame adom. Yenya resource person a onde yen ebe kasa afa mental health. Ye programs bebra ye no da bia ni nyina yetimika na akọ center around say ebia ya broach say ye manage your mental health ye. Enu nti na niam bebre wo ho a you taking in too much. Ema ye de entokwa ene niam bebre ebe fifa ya setna emo. Enti we are very happy today. We have Bertha joining us at the studio. Bertha is a mental health consultant. Today she's here to talk to us, to present to us, for us to have understanding of mental health, how we will be able to manage our mental health so that we can have a peaceful home. Because we've always been requesting to have someone, and today we are fortunate that we have Bertha here with us. Hello, Bertha. Welcome to ABROKYIRE.
Hi, Helena.
How are you?
I'm all right, thanks. Can everybody see me?
How
Yes.
Yes, but I think you can you push yourself back a bit? I think you are too close to the camera. Let's have a look.
Does that? I think that made it worse on my end.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's okay now.
Yeah, don't worry. My producer will adjust it. Don't worry.
Okay, no worries then.
Thank you for accepting our invitation. We are happy
No.
to have you joining us this evening.
No, thank you for having me.
I know your time is tight, but you agreed to come and talk to us. Thank you so much. We appreciate your effort. Thank you. Yeah. So today, I know we've been talking behind, for some weeks now, and that our Ghanaian community, we want to have more understanding, because most of the time we bring our family here and we end up fighting, causing and people always complain that is stress from work and whatnot. So today we decided that we will have you here so that you can talk to us, support us, enlighten us how we can manage our stress, how we can manage our mental health, so that it not escalate for us to have issues in our families. So I will let you start. Then whilst you do you have the will you be able to share your screen?
Let me check if I can still share it.
Before you start, if you can check for us.
I'm not able to share it at the moment.
Okay, so we will let you be a host as well, so that you'll be able to share your presentation. I know our viewers would like to take some notes, so it will be very helpful if you
Of
can
course,
share your
definitely.
slides with us. Thank you. For and yɛn nkɔmɔ ada bi a yɛde ka ho asɛm no ɛnɛ yɛ wɔyɛ nuaba bɛta ɛwɔ yɛn nkyɛn ha sɛ ɔbɛka kas bibi kakra afa ne ho na owie a ɔde ahyɛ yɛ dwumadie na sɛ mɛsrɛ sɛ wɔkasa no obɛtumi afa wo pen ɛne wo paper na nso wadɔte points down nti sɛ wowɔ question a wobɛtumi ɛde aba sɛ nso so no wowɔ comment bi a wodrɔpe ɛwɔ yɛ comment section hɔ a yɛbɛread ɛde ama wo yɛ number na ɛdi dwuma no yɛ studio number no ɛno a na ɛdi dwuma no wohwɛ screen ase a wobɛhu sɛ number no ɛretwa gu wɔ hɔ number no ɛyɛ 073-418-91857 mɛsrɛ sɛ wobɛtumi afrɛ direct anaasɛ WhatsApp nso so a wofrɛ a yɛn nsa ɛbɛka. But are you able to share the screen now? You have the access. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So I'll let you start here.
So can everybody see the screen?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, better. Yeah, you can go on. We can see your screen.
Yeah. Sorry, I just want to start the slideshow. There we go.
No problem.
So the reason why I prepared a slideshow is because mental health is quite a complex topic. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Perfect. Mental health is a very complex topic, so I thought I'd present something to you guys in the form of a presentation because this way it's quite easy for me to make sure I don't forget anything or leave anything out. And then if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer those as well. So just to give you a little bit of background around myself. So my name is Berta. I work with Helena at the Orchards as a mental health and substance misuse consultant. My background is in psychoanalysis. I completed my undergrad in criminology, and then I did my higher diploma in psychotherapy and my master's in psychoanalysis. Initially, I was actually a children's therapist, and we did a lot of play therapy before I moved on to working with people with substance misuse, and then escalated into management from there before moving to the Orchards. So the main reason why I suppose we wanted to do this presentation was to look at how people can support their well-being holistically. But not just that, it's also for people to get a bit of an understanding of the signs and symptoms of mental health, because a lot of people don't even recognize that they're living with a mental health condition, and it's impacting their day-to-day life. So it's about being able to recognize these signs, and when you do recognize them, being able to actually know where to reach out to, so that you're not left alone. So I wanted to go over the definition of mental health because, again, it is quite complex. So the World Health Organization, defines mental health as a state of well-being in which an individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with normal stresses of life, can work productively, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. So as you can see, mental health is neither positive or negative, but the experiences that you have around you can impact your mental health and can either be impacted in a positive way or can impact it in a negative way. So as I mentioned before, so I just want to move the screen. As I mentioned before, mental health is defined as a person's condition with regard to their psychological and emotional well-being. And mental health is all about how we think, feel, and act. Mental health is viewed as negative because there is a negative stigma around mental health. And that's another thing that we wanted to explore as well, is the stigma attached to mental health. This is another reason why a lot of people don't want to reach out for support, because they feel that they're going to be judged if they do. And sometimes people don't generally understand mental health well enough to know if they're having an experience. So some people who are feeling anxious, they would presume that they have mental health, but when you look at mental health, you have to think about the circumstances that you're in, and you have to think about the signs and symptoms. Are they ongoing for more than 2 weeks? And are they having an impact on your ability to carry out day-to-day tasks? If yes, then you are being impacted by your mental health negatively. Mental health can affect anyone at any age, and that includes children. A lot of people don't realize that mental health has a significant impact on children. And the mental capacity, so the MCA is the Mental Capacity Act, and it's designed to protect and empower people who may lack mental capacity to make their own decisions about their own care and treatment. So there are a variety of different ways to diagnose mental health, and there's a variety of different professionals as well. I'm not going to go into all of them too much because it does get very confusing if I do. But it's really important to understand that if you're experiencing mental health concerns, the very first point of contact would be your GP, because your GP will be able to liaise with relevant mental health services and refer you to them. If you feel like you're having a mental health crisis, don't wait to speak to your GP, go straight to A&E. Yeah?
But how would you know that you are having a mental health? How would you know? Because most people, they are always in denial. So what are
Yeah.
the symptoms? What are the things that one will have to display for one to know that you are battling with mental health?
So I'm just going to skip a little bit ahead to answer that question.
Okay.
There are some generic signs and symptoms of mental health. So just to be aware, just because somebody is experiencing one or two does not necessarily mean that they have mental health. And just because somebody is only experiencing one or two does not mean that they don't have mental health. It just depends on the person and whether or not it's impacting your ability to carry out day-to-day tasks.
My listeners, they say they want to see your face. So if you wouldn't mind, can you?
Okay, I'll stop the screen share then because I'm just...
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
So, can you see me now?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Oh, are you unable to see me from screen sharing?
Yes, we couldn't see you. It was
Okay.
only the slide, that we were seeing. Yeah.
Okay, no worries then. Okay, so basically, some people have various signs and symptoms. The most common ones that, for the record, it presents differently for everybody. So always recognize that some people might not have some of the signs and symptoms and might have different ones. So what I'm going over is just an overview of the general signs and symptoms. What you tend to find is people start withdrawing from their friends and families. I feel that this might be because of the fact that they're struggling to manage, and a lot of the times you struggle to communicate with people. So it's easier to just withdraw than to have to explain to people that you're not in a good headspace, which some people do find embarrassing as well. Like I explained earlier, because of the stigma attached to mental health. People would avoid doing activities they normally like doing. So if you're somebody that used to always like doing your hair, and then all of a sudden doing your hair feels like a chore, then that's something that's a little bit concerning. Some people either sleep too much or they don't sleep enough. So again, it depends on what condition you are struggling with. People with depression, they generally sleep too much, and people with anxiety struggle to sleep. So it really just depends on which condition and how it presents for you as well. Some people end up overeating. So if you find that all of a sudden you're eating a lot of food, it's a lot of the times because you're comfort eating. So you generally tend to eat too much. Or if you find that you lost your appetite, that one is associated with anxiety usually, because they are feeling so anxious that they're struggling to eat any food. When you start to feel, I can't even see myself. Can you guys see me?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I've come back. I can see myself now. When you are starting to have feelings of hopelessness, like you feel like there is no way out, you feel that your circumstances have no resolution, people don't realize that that's a sign of mental health as well. Some people who've experienced trauma, they would have, sorry?
No, better, can you repeat that again?
Which one, the hopeless?
No, what you just mentioned, that people don't even recognize that when they are in that mood. when they can't see themselves. It's a very good point that I would like you to stress on it again.
Oh, no worries. So generally what tends to happen is that people start having very negative thought processes and they start thinking very negatively about the situation that they're in, and they can't see any positives and they can't see a way out of their circumstances. So people don't actually realize that that's the feeling that you're feeling is called hopelessness. And it's something that, to be honest with you, a lot of people actually struggle with and don't really realize that they're struggling with their mental health. Sometimes some people like to just say, oh no, I'm just being realistic. And if you were being realistic, you'd see the positives as well.
No, better, we are listening.
Oh yeah, sorry, I thought someone was saying something. Yeah, you would see the positives as well, and that's being realistic, is weighing out everything, weighing out the positives, weighing out the negatives. But when all you see is the negatives, and we call that tunnel vision, then generally you're feeling quite hopeless, and a lot of the times they just don't recognize that, sadly, and don't reach out in time for help, because once you start feeling hopeless, it starts accompanying with all the other emotions, because if someone's feeling hopeless, they're less likely to want to engage in any activity because they don't see the point in it. If you're feeling hopeless, what's the point of getting out of bed? For what purpose? And that just from there goes into a downward spiral. I mean, each and every single one of them in itself do as well, but hopelessness is one of the bigger ones because it generally drives depression. And anxiety as well, because again, you don't see any resolution. People who have PTSD, they generally tend to get flashbacks. A flashback is basically a memory of a negative experience that you've had that's had quite a bit, it's had an impact on your mental health, obviously. But again, some people don't realize they're having a flashback. Some people would just think that they're thinking about negative thoughts or something. I guess the easiest way for me to explain it is, imagine you're in a shopping center and you're doing some shopping, and in the middle of nowhere, you just get this very horrible memory. And to you, it comes across like it's just a really horrible memory. But actually, if it's a memory that's caused you to have a lot of negative emotions, then what you don't realize is that you're having a flashback. And again, these are some of the issues around mental health, and the stigma around mental health is because people are not even trying to understand what the signs and symptoms are in order to recognize them for themselves.
Is it bad to have a flashback, like think of things that has happened in the past? I think we have something like back memories, thinking of what happened. It also helps to shape your lifestyle or something. So is it bad to have that?
Not necessarily, because again, like I explained earlier, if it is not having an impact on your day-to-day life, then it isn't necessarily a terrible thing. Some people would use that experience to make change, to grow. To try and make changes, to grow, and to try and never be in that position again. Because without going too much into it, the brain is programmed to remember negative experiences so that you are less likely to repeat them again. So when you're having a flashback, that's your brain feeling that it's in danger sometimes. So a lot of the times you don't know what triggered the flashback. It could have been a thought process. It could have been during shopping, you recognize something, like let's say you recognize a banana, and the negative experience that you had, it was a banana in the room at the time. Any little thing can set off a flashback. So again, it depends on how the person works through that flashback, whether it's negative or positive. Generally, it can be very, very distressing for people, but it doesn't mean that they can't overcome it. Some of the other signs and symptoms are feeling low in energy, tired, lethargic. Again, this needs to be for a long period of time. some people can be feeling tired because they've worked long hours. Then it's normal for you to feel tired because you work long hours. But if it gets to a point where you are having, let's say, 8 hours sleep and you're having good quality of sleep, but you're still feeling low and in energy, then that would be a little bit concerning, because it could either be your mental health or it could be something physical. And again, this is why it's important to speak to your GP, because your GP will be able to rule out whether or not it's something physical, because it could be a thyroid problem. However, thyroid problems impact your mental health as well. So this is why it's important to speak to your GP. Some people start misusing substances. This is a very common one, particularly with alcohol, because alcohol is a legal substance. So people don't presume that them having a drink every night and all weekend long is an issue, because some people feel that it's their way of unwinding without realizing that they're self-medicating. Displaying negative emotions. So if you're constantly in low mood, if you're constantly snapping, if you're constantly angry, crying, feeling frustrated, agitated, if it's something where the situation doesn't, I guess, let's say you're in a situation that, realistically speaking, you shouldn't really lash out at, but you're lashing out, then generally you need to take a step back and think to yourself, why am I lashing out at this point in time? Is this lash out appropriate? Because what you'll tend to find is that people who are struggling with their mental health, they would lash out over anything that goes wrong. They would lash out. It could be something as small as they've misplaced a pen. I've seen people freak out over a misplaced pen. It happens because they're feeling really, really frustrated and they're not able to control any of their emotions. And so anything that goes remotely wrong, they lash out.
Please let me pause you here. I need to remind our viewers that they can bring in their questions and comments. Please give us.
Yeah.
We will come back to you. Mami T. Yes, because see, they all can now you say bibi kitu ebi ana ye buofu omo no. Na just a mental health na ye can and to mark that there so na just say you mudu do na obia obi yes but na no can say bit me impact you in a bad way, yes, a negative way, and I say in a good way. It makes stress after no join ye ya misremo and ye nya obi oni ye kasa afa mental health or dislikes not so or church and near my ya a bema won say tibia wo mu we hear help. Yeah, mesre says all questions comment bibia obetimi e dia ba me hu se enua ba me hu se enua bema or say Jemfi em say teacher teacher so great and then I catch a teacher
ye chia wo ni wabusia hina enwumre ye da se watin kosweti na she na I know say na ye ude because what twen ya bre nti no question bi a ohia bia no you can call in as usual normal number na yeah that's it.
No also can be say bibi a obe yama na brusu bia enti no na say na nkofo nya yi a omutimi susu etwa so bebre no and I know yankotoma ne emisa no because so utimi koti bia bim na afa de obia pata okra wunyai ti no nye betimi relate to mental health ana.
Yes nana say too much of everything is bad, okay, as we know.
Okay.
And then okoti bia bi ma ti say ewu asema we de bayi obia was said there ewu eba osi react. Bible crack yes ubesu de but ono asan ka say insun ti say ama memufo you know wo ni da so say daachi ubehie nipa ne wo mu say ya de nti ubesu but still no wo gidie eni da so but say wo sua to the point say okay bibi wo de koye nsawe ana say wo kope bibi ama na abe bata the enti awusu na ono na akoye too much na eno no e de wo koti bia fufrom enti wo akwanya se ubesu na bibi aba mpo betina se na wahwe e de ne ma ne ba ye de ne ba ye sa de ne ya de a wo betumi adili kra wo hia GP se de wo ka no ba se enye sa na wo ye ti se wo fato ho so mpo na bia wa amompa ye mpo amenya mi mpo amate bia ni mu a ɛno saa no de obekɔ extra ama wanhwɛ a obekɔ akɔfa bibi to replace, and the more na wodi bibi o ma me paramiti ya me ya ma me ntonsa no say no na ɛno no lead you to very depressed ɛno no ɛmmoa o health nti ne ɛbɛsrɛ atiefo yɛkɔte biem a yɛnhu sɛ nyame nkuto ni nyame a si yɛbɔ mpa yɛ ne yesu frɛ no ɔno ana ma akwan ma ate bia ne yɛyɛ den yɛkɔ mu nti sɛ nyame no ɔbɛyɛ den ɔbɛgye yɛn.
Okay, better.
Yeah.
Can we link over excitement? You know, there are some people that they can get over. Can we link that to mental health? And also, when people are bereaved, you know.
Sorry, I didn't get that. What did you say? Can we?
Yeah, can we link over excitement to mental health? You know, some people they get to the extreme of it that they get excited that nothing can stop them.
Yeah.
You see them jumping all over the place and other stuff like that. Can that be linked to mental health? And other people too, when they are bereaved, when they go into that mood, with the way they cried and everything, can that also be considered as an indicator of someone who is having a mental health?
Again, it would depend on the circumstances. Some people can just be stubborn, while other people, it can be mental health. It just depends on the circumstances. You can have some people who can have a manic episode and they can get overexcited. They can think they're on top of the world. They can quite... are you talking about when somebody is feeling so overwhelmed that they start having...
Yes.
Yeah, when they're feeling extremely overwhelmed and then start having a little bit of a breakdown. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Again, it depends on the condition, and depends again on the circumstances. Some people can be stubborn in some cases, and usually in the majority of cases, yes, it can be linked to mental health because the person finds it very difficult to contain themselves, and they end up just projecting all over the place.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah. So you can continue.
Yeah. Some people would have difficulty in concentrating, remaining focused, memory difficulty and confusion. This generally happens because the person's head is so full that they can't really think of anything else. And so when someone is speaking to them, they're not generally focusing or listening to you because they're thinking about something else. Some people, like I mentioned earlier, would really struggle to carry out day-to-day tasks. So something as simple as brushing your teeth, combing your hair, cooking food, cleaning the house, doing shopping, they would really struggle to do. And some people would even struggle to leave their houses. It'd be quite difficult for them. Again, depending on the person, they can feel quite suicidal. They can be self-harming. And in some cases, some people can be a danger to other people because if they feel threatened by somebody, they could become homicidal. Again, not everybody who's homicidal has mental health, just to clarify, but in some cases with mental health conditions, they can become homicidal. It affects people's libido. Some people become extremely promiscuous, and other people just don't want to be touched at all. Yeah. Some people have hallucinations, so they would hear things or see things. Some people would have delusions or paranoia. They're commonly associated with some types of personality disorder and a psychotic episode, but can happen to people with long-term depression, clinical depression. Less common, but it can happen. Like I said, mental health presents differently for everybody. So those would be the generic signs and symptoms of mental health. And then once you've identified that you might be struggling with your mental health, like I explained before, it's always important to go to your GP, and your GP will be able to refer you to different services. So there are a lot of different types of therapies that you can do for your mental health. I guess the more popular ones these days are CBT therapy, but there is a variety of different counseling, DBT, psychotherapy, psychoanalysis for people who have gone through trauma, EMDR, and there are a lot of different talking services available as well in the community that support people with mental health. So you've got IAPT, which is a talking services. GPs generally refer you to them. However, you can refer yourself as well. You've got the community mental health services.
But sorry, Bertha, do you always need a professional to assist you to manage that? Can't our family, like our close, our immediate family support, if someone is struggling, can the family support someone to come out of it? Do you always need a professional assistance in managing mental health?
So again, it would depend on the mental health condition. Somebody who is experiencing anxiety and depression, family members can support them. If the family member understands what they're going through, they can try and do different things, such as going and seeing them regularly, having conversations with them. Even just being in the same room as somebody can make a world of difference for that person, because at least having their loved ones around them reminds them that people care about them. Because the sad part about depression is you feel alone and you feel like no one cares about you. So having people coming down regularly and being with you, it invalidates those feelings of loneliness. However, in other cases where you have people that are having psychotic episodes, it would be advised that you would definitely seek mental health support in the community. And the reason for that is because it's much more difficult to manage, and sometimes if the person becomes violent or aggressive, they put the person, like the family member and everybody else, at risk as well. And also, if generally when people are having an episode, they do feel a bit suicidal as well. So it's about supporting them through that as well, because you could save their life. So I know that a lot of the times, people would prefer, because of the stigma attached to mental health, to manage the situation at home themselves. But sometimes you actually do more damage than good for that person, and for yourselves as well, because it can be overwhelming for you as well. And what sometimes tends to happen is that you are then impacted, and now you are struggling with depression and anxiety because you're struggling to manage and support somebody. So there are cases where you can, but it's always advised that they get other support as well. Also, because sometimes they might not feel comfortable talking to you about what they're going through, but they might feel comfortable speaking to another professional, because people find it easier to speak to other people that they don't know, because they feel less judged by that person than they would by their family. So you're not really sometimes allowing that person to express themselves, which they desperately need when they're going through a mental health episode.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you can continue. Yeah.
Sorry?
No, I said you can continue.
Yeah, and then so they have talking therapies. You have the community mental health team. You have the home treatment team. There are people that come to your house and support you within the community and try and link you into different services in the community as well. You have the crisis services, and A&E. A&E is always there. If you can't get a hold of any services, if you can't get a hold of any family members, A&E is always there. So one of the things that I wanted to go over as well was how to build resilience for yourself. And it's called the Ways to Wellbeing. So it's a new method called the Roads to Wellbeing. And they feel that if you adapt your lifestyle and make these 5 major changes in your lifestyle, that you should ideally have a stable mental health, and also use these tools to support others as well, because it will support them to build resilience as well. So the 5 different ways is to connect. So like I mentioned earlier, connecting with your loved ones. I know that during the pandemic, a lot of people started isolating, and a lot of people felt quite comfortable to just stay at home now. Not many people go out and do the same things that they used to do before. That actually does have an impact, because when you're isolating and you're not going out and being active as you usually would be, then you generally just tend to feel a little bit low about yourself, because you feel, again, like there isn't really much of a purpose. You're just sitting at home doing nothing. And that's why they encourage you to do these things. So connect with your family and friends. Try your best to not do it virtually. Try to actually go out and meet them face to face, or even go to their houses and meet each other face to face, because sometimes it's not about speaking to the person, but just being in the same room as them. Trying to be active, so having a regular exercise. They always recommend that you do, is it 10K steps a day? Yeah, 10K steps a day, and this helps to release healthy hormones into your system. One of the things that people don't realize about mental health is that it has a biological, so it's called a biochemical response. So somebody who is suffering with anxiety.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay, yeah. I wanted to ask you a question about OCD. Because it's one of the mental health issues that cause a lot of problems in our homes. Because most of the times when we bring people back home, their cleaning level is different from how we do our things here. So, how can you be able to draw the line, or how can you identify that this person is having an issue, when it comes to OCD? Because maybe you just think that, you are just a clean person. So at what level would you know that, no, this is an indication or it's a display of having a mental issue?
So like I mentioned before, when it starts to impact your day-to-day activities. So if it gets to a point where, let's say somebody has not placed something in a counter and that really upsets you, and now you're really struggling to do anything else because that thing is not on the counter where it's supposed to be, then it might be of a concern, because it should not impact your ability to carry out any other stuff. So people with OCD, if you've misplaced something, so let's say I have this here on the counter and somebody moves it across the counter, that will cause them a lot of distress. If you find yourself in a place where you feel very, very distressed by the fact that something is not done in a particular way, and it's not impacting your ability to carry out day-to-day tasks or to move on from it, because that person with OCD, they will, I'm not saying everyone's like this, but when you are having an episode, they will really struggle to do anything else until this thing is moved back to the proper position in the counter, and then they feel calmer. So if you feel like you're in that place, then yeah, that is of a concern.
Okay. So if someone is having a mental health issue, is it an ongoing thing, or it has its moments, like it's on and off, it comes and it goes?
Yeah, it's up and down. It's up and down. Some people will have good days, some people will have bad days, and for some people it's consistent. Again, it presents differently for people, but yes, it does generally tend to go up and down. When you find that it's in a place where it's down consistently, and they're not really having any periods of up, that's when you need to be, well, a lot more concerned than you were earlier.
Okay, all right. Okay, let's turn to our viewers and listeners. We will come back to you better.
No problem.
Okay, thank you. Mami see. And semino ebi wo mo. Say nema bebre ko so ya yebu ye ni gu so. E wo ya sit na mu. Ah ye mfa ni say you serious. Na eno na ye nua better all kan no. Mo say was some people be a wa hihye ne niema wo ni fie pepepe. It is one fan to baby da. Na ko fasema ba. Eno de ntokwa. Eni niema bebre ba abusua mu. Nti mesre. So wo fie. Na say wo go through sa. Wo de ade to baby. Emofra na fa to baby fufro. Papa na say maame na fa to baby fufro. Enu nti no. Etimi destroy wo day ni nyina ma untimi carry on with other activities a mesro. Eno na ye nua better aka no. Seek for an assistance, because ebi ana wo hia emwa. Enkasa o me de me ya ho prapra enu nti no. Enu nti na mama yesa ni nyina ka mental health. Mami ti asem ni more den. E dey na wo ka kire tiefo.
Ya de tiefo nyina ase. An se de ye nua ba na ka. Any quite say, Nana, okay, BB, so there be our wadrin say. Come nipa ho a ye hunu se wo ko bibi nti ye besere e o mu se ya na edin se wo nu ni abi kra be kwa akɔhye wo problem na be ho ana amansan ate be no aya ma ye ma eno no ma ya ba mu because obi ehia ne yonko because the moment wo share them na okan ye no e ba wo hu wo sorry am pese obeye hwe wo de mabre wo de da ho nso na bia bibi na e go through wadwini nti se wan kwhya wo be da nya solution
adwini so de ne makom pa o ma miti ahwefo ne edwumade na na egu so aye no abrochire mo nsam dwumade aye de bro richmond media eno ana anwumre so na na ya abrochire ma me ne ma miti age ye dwa mo nsam a mo de to ye nim da bia ye tie mu nti ene yenya ye nua ba o ne ye kasa afa mental health
yeah
me stress afi no abadwumade so a akwanya wo ho so obetimi afre minim se emre na akwani mu bebre na mo request si emfa obi mra no ne ye mekasa emfa ye mental health ho enti na yenya ye nua mesre se fa wo questions bra bibi bia wo apese obi se bia fa bra na ye nua ba yi wa ha yi de omo aye na me san kai wo bi se adwumaku a wo so ya nsen e top connect so pese odi sika ma ne nko akofie dia mesre emfa ba bia se top connect so there be a senior maker no and what the fa kwa usika no te sia na abusuafo nsaka na dwuma wo so mu di so mu di bedi ama we dey live ni so ma miti na ya na nkofo ya bisho na yi live ni kwa be ya dwuma ni e wo sada ko ye frega na fo ni ebisa wo mo say yi live na be ya dwuma ba top connect there yi live ya eni so eni tie san ko ye nua ba ni so na ye san eni ni nkodi enkomo okay better. Yeah, our viewers are happy that you joined us today, making us understand our mental health. Yeah, so yeah, you can carry on.
Yeah. I was exploring the roads to well-being.
Yeah.
So can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So the main things that we try to promote everybody to do for themselves is to try and connect with their loved ones. So that's the main thing that we advocate for everybody. It's important for you to connect with your loved ones regularly and to do that virtually as well. And then some of the other things that we asked you to do as well is to be active. Like I mentioned earlier, when you have anxiety, what people don't realize is that it impacts you at a chemical level as well. So what's happening is that you're introducing a lot of cortisol. Yes.
Yeah, we have a caller on the line, so let's listen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hello.
Yeah. Hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
And thank you for your resources. I'm a little bit worried
Can you mention your name and where you are calling from, please?
Oh, sorry. My name is Okay, and I'm calling from Buckinghamshire.
Oh, teacher.
Yeah, teacher.
Oh, teacher, you're more kwaba. Yeah, you feel. Yeah, two voices say they are near
Yeah, my question is.
Okay.
My question is, we know that isolation is a sign of mental disorder, but in our community, we do have some people who we believe or we assume that they are a type of people who don't want to associate themselves with anybody.
Okay.
And they are normal. Nothing happens to them. They go and come. They are happy. It means that they don't want to be with people.
Okay.
I would like to find out whether every normal human being can decide to live isolated. That is my question, because sometimes it's very difficult for some to know whether this person is suffering, because this has been somebody from childhood like to be on his own, isolate from people. He doesn't talk to anybody in the community, and he lives all right. So I would like to know whether we do have normal people like that, or it's also a mental disorder.
Okay. And they are still able to carry on their daily chores.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, they do everything normal.
Okay.
But it's just that they don't want to be with people.
Yeah.
Do we have normal beings like that? Normal human beings like that?
Okay. Beta, did you hear the question?
I a bit, right? So is he asking for people who prefer to just be in isolation, but don't feel that it's impacting their mental health?
Because they are still able to carry on their daily activities.
Day-to-day tasks. Okay, that's okay. What's the question? That's a statement.
No, it's a question.
Yeah, my statement.
What's the question then?
My question is: do we have normal human beings to behave in that way, being isolated? He doesn't want to be with people. And if you ask him, he said, that's how I was brought up and that's how I want to live my life. Is it normal?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're asking, is it possible for somebody to live in isolation and it not be a mental health concern? Yeah, is that yes, of course it's possible. Some people are introverts. They would prefer to not. They would actually prefer to recharge on their own. They don't really like going out. The main thing about isolation, what you have to understand, it's a little bit different than being an introvert. Isolation is when people want to be all by themselves. They don't even want to talk to their circle of friends, because people who are introverts, they have a group of friends. So you have a circle of friends, a circle of family, you have your workplace, and you only consort with the people within this category. That's fine, because you're still living your life, you know. It's the ones that are not even speaking to their family and friends, are staying at home and being all by themselves. People are trying to call them, they're not picking up the phone, are struggling to go into work because they're struggling to be around people. That's what I'm referring to when I say isolation, rather than being an introvert, because an introvert is a personality type.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, thanks a lot for your understanding now. Thank you.
We always have to be among our loved ones. Try see any abusia for you benya sankita hudino. It's answer boy. And only you free. That's all be called be train after the idea drew. I just offer a drum, son, I dream a year, Juma. Wabras only a bush of Fonso, Nasia, some dream, a natural therapy. Very good. Okay, better. Yeah, let's continue.
Yeah, so it's all about taking notice of how you're feeling as well. So these are one of the things that are really important for us, is because we always try to run away from how we're feeling, especially when they're negative emotions. We try to push them aside. But by doing that, you're not really allowing yourself to process those emotions, and you're also not building the coping mechanisms that you need to for when you experience negative emotions again in the future. So it's important to recognize how you're feeling and allow yourself to process it. People process emotions differently. Some people like talking to people, some people like journaling. Whatever way you feel that is necessary to express yourself in that way. It's always important to try and keep learning. And one of the main reasons for this, and it's when I say learning, it doesn't just mean about being in education. It means learning to do something new. So learning how to knit, learning a new language. And one of the reasons why this is important is because when you're learning, you're using the left side of your brain. So on average, we use the right side of the brain, which is the analytical side. When you are learning something, you're using the left side, which is the creative side of the brain. And what it does is that it completely shuts off the right side of the brain, allowing yourself to actually get a real relief from yourself. But because you're doing something that's creative, it releases healthy hormones like dopamine and serotonin, and reduces the amount of cortisol in the system, and if you have unhealthy levels of adrenaline. So you don't realize, by doing something as simple as learning how to knit, the amount of benefits it has to your body and your mind. And trying to give. Giving is quite important. As you are aware of the saying, you find yourself in the servitude of others. And so giving makes you feel good as well. So in that sense, it's important to try and give. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to donate. It also means something as simple as giving somebody a compliment. If I walk down the street and I see somebody with nice hair, I would stop her and say, your hair looks very beautiful today. You've made that person feel good and you feel good. Maybe doing a barbecue for your loved ones. it could be something small, but if you try to maintain these 5 things, connect, being active, taking notice, keep learning and giving, what you are doing is you are supporting not only your physical health, but your mental health in the process, and ideally remaining some form of mental stability in your life.
And better, you know something, you know, the pandemic, it's really impacted, on our lives. You know, it brought a lot of changes. So,
Yeah.
do you have anything to, just to tell us how we should go? Because now it's like every household, our way of living has changed. Now we've limited the way that we used to meet friends. We've cut down face-to-face contact, and now most contacts are over the phone or maybe Zoom or what have you. Do you think it's helping us, or it's something that for the long-term effect, it will impact on our mental well-being?
Well, since the pandemic, prior to the pandemic, mental health statistics in London was 1 in 4 people. Since the pandemic, it is 1 in 3 people. It significantly impacts everyone's well-being. And if I go back to what I was saying earlier about the race to well-being, people struggle to connect with their loved ones because, like I mentioned before, a virtual connection, although it does support you, it's always better to be face-to-face. So people weren't being able to see their loved ones face-to-face, so it impacted them. People weren't able to be active. A lot of gyms closed down. A lot of people weren't able to go to the gym. A lot of people didn't even feel comfortable leaving their houses, so they didn't do their 10K steps that they would usually do when they're just going to and from work. So it's impacting their physical health as well. And then it was quite difficult for people to take notice of how they were feeling, because so when you are taking notice of how you're feeling, you get to a point where you've done too much now. You're now ruminating. You're no longer taking notice of how you're feeling. You're just ruminating and fueling anxiety and depression. And what was happening during the pandemic is where people were left alone with their thoughts, they started ruminating a lot. And ruminating a lot about the past leads to depression. Ruminating a lot about the future leads to anxiety. And of course, because nobody knew when this was going to end, it impacted a lot of people's anxiety, because there was a lot of people who were wondering, when am I going to be able to see my loved ones again? When I'm going to be able to be active again? The one good thing that a lot of people were able to do is try to keep learning and doing activities within the household. Again, a lot of people would still struggle with that if they're not people who are who are creative. If creativity is not something of their interest, then they would have struggled a lot with that. And again, it was very difficult for them to be able to give. During the pandemic, you found that people were very scared to give as well, because they were worried about if they would have enough for themselves. And this is something that's carried on with the crisis that we have at the moment with everyone's financial situation. Nobody wants to give because they feel like they won't even be able to support themselves if they do. So because all these areas are impacted, it impacts you as a person as well. And one of the ways that I feel, because now things have changed now, and I understand that there is still a virus out there, and it's still impacting people, and it's still killing people. People are still getting sick. So I understand why a lot of people still don't want to see people face to face. And that's the reason why it's important to look at all of these and start adapting them. So if you look at Connect, you've already mentioned people are connecting virtually. It's better than no connection at all. If you look at being active, if you don't want to leave the house, YouTube has an abundance of videos that you can do from your living room to stay active.
Okay. Yeah, our producer is saying that we've gone over our time.
Oh, yeah,
So
no worries.
your last word before we say goodbye to you. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your last word, better, before we say goodbye to you. No, I said your last word. Your final word.
No, my the only point I was trying to make is that it's just about adapting all of these little things to suit yourself for the time being, so that you can support yourself in the meantime. Because as you can see, things aren't going to change straight away. So it's about trying to find different ways to adapt, so that you can have a much sounder mental health for yourself, which is very difficult, but it can be done.
Oh, thank you so much, Beta.
No worries.
And then I'll catch her better before she goes.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank
God
you.
bless you.
Yeah. Thanks for your time, Beta.
Yeah.
But this shouldn't be the last time. No. Yeah, we will come back to you.
No worries. Always happy to.
Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. We do appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. Bye.
Bye, Beta. Thank you. Mami tea.
Yes, Nanayere.
Na de ye tie nsem.
Enya nsem ketua.
Nema bibiri o wa ye bu ye ni gu so. Eno na ha ye. Ma ye fie mu ntokwa. Anema ni se ye ma ye bufu kra na ye bu ofu. Ni nyina na ene Beta ene ye beka ho asem no. Etimi ye sure pa se tiefo fa adisuan ya ye ne omu nyina ye fa e beboa ye. Be ma ya project na no so ye ni age. I didn't know catch it for a bright day, you made ye a banner year. You send a time now, quite any paying you.
Your bedam was money why ye knew. Muncosu and tea, a brochure moonsem. A you may dear abba. Ye cassa home. Oh, how ye may how. Ye na ye boy home. Said ye bay assume drebe by ye fee. Nti stress ye dear disuane bar. San cobi, next year, not dear old dear no fat. Nefa bobra e wo fie mi enim se nyame be ka ye ho am e be duru brebi no ye be ni jensem nko a na ye be ba be ka
konsem ni nyina ye be
tu agu ti ye da mu nyina amase se de bia mu ba be je egua eni ye di dwuma nyame nhira mu nyina da se nenso Nanayere ye be sa be biem
ni nyina na maame ti aka ye da mo ase se mo be ka ye ho e ma ye di dwuma ne your production team na nya asem kweto akuku damfo ni nyina wa ha wa ha o ma be boa ye ama ye dwumadie akoso ye da mu nyina ma sese mo be kan ye ho ama ye di ye dwumadie akoso kama mesre se wan hye abomodin ase ye wie wo be hye ama odofo bi enya bi etie sanse be boa ye e wo ya broche asetena mu ye da mo sese na mo be kan ye ho da se ne nso na ma miti kan ye be sane mo hye enti adwumre ye me Nanayere broche hima me ne
ma miti
na mo tie ye ke mo ma ba
Richmore Radio.
Bye.
Fantastic.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will get there. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will get there. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will get there. Boom boom, ti boom, boom boom, boom boom, ti boom, boom boom. We will